Pull up, grab the fuel nozzle, and get ready to fuel up on trends and strategies to grow your travel center business in this episode of The Truck Stops Here, brought to you by NATSO. Now, here's your host, Amy Toner.
Hello, and welcome to today's episode of The Truck Stops Here. I'm your host, Amy Toner. You are listening to The Truck Stops Here, the NATSO Foundation's podcast. The NATSO Foundation is the research, education, and public outreach subsidiary of NATSO. The podcast is just one of the many educational tools the foundation creates. Today, I have the pleasure of welcoming NATSO's Vice President, Marketing and Branding, Andrew Evans, onto the podcast. Hey, Andrew.
Hey, Amy.
You guys can't see it, but Andrew is joining us with a new NATSO hat. So just setting the scene for us.
I just got it 2 days ago.
So NATSO recently unveiled a dynamic new logo in response to the industry evolution, and Andrew is going to tell us all about it. So this is huge news, big news. What factors led you to know that we needed to make this big change?
So really, it was a combination of two things. So one was just a deep curiosity of really wanting to understand what our members valued. And two, just a recognition of just new market forces in the industry that are really changing the way that our members and our members' customers behave and operate. So I guess the first thing that I'll mention is one of the first things that I wanted to do when I started with NATSO in fall of 2022 was to really understand the brand. And I guess the way that I view a brand is that it's what others say about you when you're not in the room. And so ideally you want all of these visual components. So your logo, your tagline, your messaging strategy, you want all of these things to reflect that. They're just essentially a mirror to the experience of doing business with your company. And so in our case, it's an association. So at that time, to understand the NATSO brand, I really wanted us to all be on the same page, understanding some of the basics, like what do our members value, what do our members need to be more profitable, what does NATSO do really well, and what can we do to enhance that member experience. And keep in mind, this is from all member levels. We have truck stop members, but we also have members of our vendor community. We have associate members that are, sometimes builders or private equity groups or repair shops. So that was that first component. The second component was the forces from the outside forces within the industry. So I look at these as like market forces that are really shifting the way that our members' customers are changing their behaviors. So, there are new competing ways for drivers to consume energy, like EV. Professional drivers are eating more meals in their trucks. Speed of service is becoming increasingly important. Delivery drivers are projected. This was one statistic that I found here recently. The delivery drivers are projected to grow twice the 10-year national average. So you see differences in length of haul. You see a lot more box trucks. Mexico has now surpassed China as our number one trade partner. So the industry is so much different than it was several years ago, and there's just so many forces that our members are facing. And it was my recommendation that it was critical for our members to know that we, NATSO, were also evolving with all of these changes.
It seems like you came on to NATSO at exactly the right time,
I think that it's been a good transition so far, and I think that this is a part that will help us all, get together in the same messaging strategy and same brand strategy moving forward, and I'm really excited about what we all can do as a staff and with our members in the future.
So the centerpiece of this rebrand is the striking new NATSO logo. What direction did you give the branding company when you were creating it?
So, back when I started with NATSO, I developed an initial brand strategy, and this included things like, brand imagery. So these are things like, how should we represent the industry when we shoot photos?
Yep.
A brand tone of voice. So this is like, what are some common themes that we should tease out when we're talking about the brand? It included points of parity. So, how are we the same as other associations? Points of differentiation. So what really makes us stand out and be different? And then like our brand personality. So I always describe the brand personality as, who would NATSO be if you met them at a cocktail party? Mm-hmm. So
who would we be?
Well, I mean, I'm going to say Shaquille O'Neal because because he really embodies just the fun and forward-thinking spirit that that our staff and our members have. With he's always evolving. He's always doing new things. He's never afraid to take chances, and that I think that really sums up who we are as a brand. But with that, when I started working with a company that developed the logo, we dove a little bit deeper to develop our brand pillars. So brand pillars are essentially like, what are the foundational characteristics that and values that support our brand. So we developed those components. We developed the brand archetype and then the brand drivers. So what are the things that really impact the brand the most? So this exercise hasn't just led to our new logo and other visual components, but it's also brought in newer products and the way that we position those products, kind of like the Travel Center Trends document that was developed last fall, which is like 32-page mix of it's a mix of quantitative driver survey results that Amy, you kind of spearheaded.
Yep.
Qualitative one-on-one video interviews with professional drivers, and then observational insights from our VP of membership, Darren Schulte, from his insights from 100 plus, sometimes 120 or so Travel Center visits per year.
So can you tell us about the logo? What are the visual components of it?
Yeah, so I guess I'd like to kind of start with how I view what makes a good logo. And I guess the first way that I look at it is like, does it look good in its most bare components? So is it going to be readable in just one color? So that's what I really strive for when you're trying to build something substantive. And then, bonus points if it conveys something that we stand for. But there's really essentially two major types of logos. There's the logo type, which is centered around a name. And then there's the logo marks, which are centered around an image. So think of Nike or Target. They're very well established with an image. But we already had such a well established brand that I wanted to go with the logo type. So the one that had a kind of bold typefaces. So we modified the red and the blue to be the Old Glory blue and the Old Glory red to to match the flag. And then it's a logo type mark. But that bonus points that I was talking about, it on the A, it has a road running through it, and then it has an arrow right in the middle of the logo that points forward to really represent the evolving needs of our members.
And it also can include a tagline. Tell us about that.
Yes. Yeah. So the tagline actually developed before the logo. And that was, the way that I view a great tagline is it doesn't necessarily convey what you stand for or what you do, but what you stand for.
Okay.
Where you fit in the world. And for NATSO, after dozens and dozens of conversations with members and staff, where NATSO really stands out is just summed up in our tagline: connecting people and fueling opportunities. That's just where we excel. People to people connections, whether that's a vendor to a member to a member, a vendor to a vendor. That's where we really excel to create those opportunities.
So, like I said, I feel like this is like massive, big, exciting change. Have you gotten feedback from other people?
Yeah, I mean, so far so good. It's always a challenge to do big and bold new things, and you always find files that need to be updated.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, so far so good, and yeah, looking forward to pushing everything forward.
Awesome. Well, I think everyone on staff is very excited about it, and as I remember you said, once you saw it, you knew that was it, and I feel like we all felt that too.
Yeah. There was, I think, 2 rounds, and we went back and forth to really try and nail that essence of how it needs to look to represent, to really represent our brand.
Awesome. Okay. Well, thanks, Andrew.
Thank you.
And thank you for listening to today's episode of The Truck Stops Here. You can find us online at natso.com/podcast. If you have any questions, reach out to me at atoner@natso.com.
The Truck Stops Here was brought to you by NATSO, the association representing truck stops and travel centers. Visit natso.com for more information. The Truck Stops Here is produced by NATSO in collaboration with Human Factor. Producers are Amy Toner and Darren Schulte.